First question. The sum of two numbers is 71. Their difference is 125. What is the product of the two numbers? So, we've got two numbers. We do not know what they are. We could call them any letter that we wanted to, but typically we like to use X and Y's, right? So, what's the word sum tell me that I need to do? Add, right? So, the sum of two numbers, so I don't know what those numbers are. I'm just going to call them X and Y. X plus Y is going to equal 71. Okay? Their difference is 125. You can tell me an equation you would write for that one. X minus Y equals 125. If you really think about this, it seems wrong because you're adding the numbers together and you get 71, but you subtract them and get a bigger number. One of them is going to be negative. Technically, it could be Y minus X. We don't know for sure the order that they're in, but it is easier to do the problem because X and Y, it could be either number. It doesn't really matter which one it is. So we could write that as Y minus X, but it's just going to be easier to do the problem if you do X minus Y, because look how nicely everything has lined up right here. All right. So technically, you could do it either way, and you'll get the same answer in the end. Your X and Y's will be switched, but it won't matter. Yeah, if you did Y minus X here, it would still give you the same answer, except for your X is going to be the Y that we get doing it this way, and the Y will be the X that you get, but it really won't matter in the end with this problem. So, but it's going to be easier this way, because look at these two beautiful problems. What's going to happen if we add them together? Okay, we'll get 186 here. No, 96. 96. What's going to happen with our Y's? They cancel. We don't have to multiply anything here. They're just gone. We got a 1x and a 1x, which is going to give us 2x. We'll divide both sides by 2, which should give us 98, I think. See if I'm, make sure I'm right on that. Yeah, 98. Okay. Then we can take 98. We can plug it into either equation from the beginning. I'm just going to use the first one. So we'll get 98 plus y equals 71. We will subtract 98. Y equals 71 minus 98 is going to give us negative 27. Yes. So our answer for this, actually no. I was about to write 98 negative 27 as our answer. That is where these two lines would cross. What's the question ask us for? Product of the two numbers. You're going to see something like this pretty often if they're giving you a question like this as a multiple choice answer. Because if they just say what's the value of one of the numbers, then it would be really easy to just work backwards and figure it out. But if you take your answer choices and figure out which one works. But if they give you the product of the two numbers, you can't work backwards from the answer choices. So they do this a lot if it's multiple choice. So the product of the two numbers, we need to multiply these two together. This is one reason I'm having you guys get your calculators each day now. If we do 98 times negative 27, somebody tell me what we get there. I'm going to try to do that one in my head. Negative 2,646. Okay, questions? So you won't see this where you got to set up a word problem on the quiz today, but you might see one that looks like the equation once we get it set up. All right. Let's look at the second one. All right, so this actually happened a few years back, but we couldn't really figure it out because there were several people that had, like, teachers didn't have to pay or something. There were some people that showed up, so we couldn't for sure figure it out. But this is something that could definitely happen. For the senior play, tickets cost $4. Student tickets cost $4. Adult tickets cost $7. Right? Most shows that you go to are going to have different prices for adults and kids most of the time. The ticket takers know that they made $726 and that 126 people attended, but they forgot to count how many tickets were student tickets and how many were adult tickets. You could see the situation happening pretty easily because it's easy to count your money at the end. It's easy to count the number of people who are there. You know, somebody might be like keeping track of that as they go in the door. If you're like a big concert, a lot of times you got to walk through the little, the rolly things that count how many people are coming in. So you could easily figure out how many people were there, and you could also pretty easily figure out how much money you made. But you might not have tracked how many were adult, how many were student, especially if it's not computerized, right? If you're just taking money by hand. And they had done this at the senior play a while back, but I think we were missing a piece of information. Maybe they didn't know how many people were there was the problem. But if we had just known that, they were wanting to know how many were student and adult. And we were missing one piece of information because Ms. White and I said we could figure that out if you just had this one more number, right? So we got two things we do not know. We do not know how many adults showed up, and we do not know how many students were showed up, right? So I'm going to let A be number of adult tickets, and I'm going to let S be number of student tickets. It is a very good idea to write this down at the beginning. You are welcome to just use X and Y for every single one. I like to use a letter that reminds me of whatever it is in the situation. That way when I get at the end, I get A equals 27. It's really easy to remember that's adult tickets. Whereas if you use X and Y, you might forget which one was your adult and which one was your student. The only time I don't do it, and I hesitate a little here, is when I've got bad variables. I don't love S as a variable. It starts looking like a 5 in my handwriting, but I'm going to stick with it anyway here. For senior play, the other time you can't do it is like if we're talking about, maybe both words start with the same letter. It's obviously we can't give them the same letter there, so you might need to use an X and a Y in those circumstances. All right, so we're going to write two equations. We're going to write an equation for the total number of people who attended and the total income, amount of money that we made. All right, so the total number of tickets that were sold is just straight counting the number of people, right? So we would take the number of adult tickets, we would add the number of student tickets, and it would give us 126. Right, because this is just number of adult tickets plus number of student tickets tells us the total number of tickets that were sold. But with income, the amount of money that you make, it matters how much each ticket cost, right? Not just how many there were, but how much they cost. So how much were adult tickets? $7. So I need to do 7A, 7 times the number of adult tickets. And then for student tickets, how much do they cost? 4. So I got to do 4S. And that is going to equal 726. So now I have two equations set up. Again, you're not going to get this on the quiz, but you might get one that looks like this once it's set up, right? All right, so I would probably use elimination on this. We got to get rid of either the A or the S. It really doesn't matter which one. They're equally easy to get rid of here. We're just going to pick one. Presley, which one would you rather get rid of, the A or the S? Okay, so if we're going to get rid of that S, we got a positive 4 here. We need a negative 4 on the top, right? So we're just going to multiply that whole top equation by negative 4. It will look like this. We'll have negative 4A minus 4S equals 126 times negative 4. Let's see, it's going to be 5/4? Yep. And then we just keep the bottom equation exactly the same. And we can add these together. S's will go away. We get 3A equals, yep. And we just have to divide by 3. So A is going to equal, what do you get whenever you do that? 74. Yeah. Okay, so 74 adult tickets are sold. Yep, you can just do 126 minus 74 because you know they got to add up to 126. Or if you're thinking about plugging it into the equation, it really ends up being the same. You're doing 74 plus S equals 126. You just subtract 74 from both sides. So S is going to equal 52. So you have 74 adult tickets and 52 students. And that is all we are going to have time for on these notes today. Please make sure they're in your notebook. We will finish them up on Monday.